Hi, my name is Joanne, and I'm a lifelong spiritual intuitive who's decided to make videos that talk about some of the spiritual wisdom I've accumulated, not just in this, but in other lifetimes. As I have said, I've been a spiritual intuitive all of my life. Since I was a child, I've gotten downloads from the spirit world. I could see spirits, both good and bad, ghosts, angels, dark energies, dark beings throughout my life. And this is because I always kept my crown chakra open. In addition, Mother Mary has been a guide who has been with me throughout my entire life. So I've had her beautiful energy around me. I've had throughout my life countless visions and communications with beings from other dimensions, and it's really truly a gift that I treasure. However, on the difficult side of having such a gift is it made me different, and there were many people around me who didn't understand this gift, and I would talk about to them what I saw, what I heard, my visions, and I would get the look like, what are you talking about? And then I was ostracized a little bit by people around me because they couldn't understand me. And to be perfectly honest, that I could understand that from the sense that if I didn't see and hear what I saw and heard, and someone told me, maybe I wouldn't understand it either. But so it made me different. And it made it so that I didn't talk much about my visions and things that I heard that I continued to see throughout my lifetime, but they happened pretty much on a daily basis. But throughout the whole time, Mother Mary was with me, and I knew that this was different, that not many people had her presence with them. In fact, just talking about her, I can feel her in the room with me now. And this indeed is a beautiful gift because it allowed my energy to be more openly loving and able to share that loving energy with other people. But like many people, I had a lot of trauma in my childhood. And although Mother Mary and her loving energy was with me throughout that entire time, I wanted to find out who I truly was. And I wanted to heal from this trauma, which quite frankly made me feel broken. I wasn't who I knew I was supposed to be. So starting at age 19, I began a healing journey and worked with many types of healers. The first healer I went to was an art therapist, and I loved it. So I went to acupuncture and homeopathy and EMDR and did a bunch of different healing modalities to further open my heart and open myself to increase communication from the spirit world. I always kept my crown open, but I wanted to make sure that it stayed open and increased in the amount of information I was able to take in from spirit. I went to college and got a bachelor's degree in biology, and then wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, and went to art school after that as an illustration major. And I had a very interesting experience when I was in art school. I used to frequent a New Age bookstore near the art school I went to, and I was there one day, and a woman came up to me and she said, I hope you don't mind if I tell you some information. I'm psychic, and I wanted to let you know that your energy is different than most people that I see, or whose energy I can feel. And she said, I can feel that you want to help people, and you get very upset about seeing all the negative things in the world and how cruel people can be. She said, but don't worry, that later in life you're going to help a lot of people. In fact, and I believe she used the word famous, she said, you're going to be famous for your work. She said, you don't want to be famous, but you want your work to be known because it's going to help people. And I thought that was really interesting, and I thanked her for what she told me. And after she left, or I left the store, and later that night, I really reflected upon the other things she told me too, and she was spot on with a lot of things that she told me besides this story. So that was an interesting experience, and I'd always think about that every once in a while. And then I decided to go back to school to get my master's in biology. And while I was getting my master's in biology, I took a creative writing class. And when I was doing my homework for the creative writing class, I would sit by water most of the time because I found I got the best focus in writing creatively that way. And I would bring like a writing pad and a pen or a pencil to write with because there weren't personal computers to type. And I actually prefer writing still sometimes because it helps to stimulate a different part of the brain. So I would write down the answer to my homework assignment. But I found after I started writing and I read what I wrote, I was like, where did this come from? I was getting all these downloads of sacred wisdom, of ancient wisdom, of sacred DNA, like sacred knowledge about DNA and how there's junk DNA, which pretty much a lot of people in the spiritual community know about junk DNA, but this was in the early 1990s and I never heard of it before getting this transmissions in my writing. So I kept writing and I was wondering, where is this coming from? And it was then that a team of spirits introduced themselves to me through automatic writing as part of my wake up as an ascension in my mid-20s in the early 1990s. And these beings, there was a group included in this team, and there were a lot of them because I needed a team, but there was a group that called themselves the physicists. And they taught me about the foundational ideas of quantum physics, how the universe ran on energy, and how energy worked. And they were really a very interesting group. They included the Greek mathematician Archimedes. He would show up every once in a while in my writings. There was transmissions from Archangel Michael. He made himself known to me at this time, and he's with me to this day. And then what was really interesting too was a group that called themselves the Pleiadians, and it took me a long time to figure out how to spell that. Who were they? But they're our galactic family who are closest to us in frequency and look the most like us. So they also transmitted to me this very interesting information about fundamental laws of spirituality, of how the universe works, and it was really a very third eye opening experience for me, and it connected me even further to the crown and to the downloads from the Creator. So I've been spiritual throughout my entire life, and I've always been like creative and used my imagination to connect to the spirit world, even when those people around me didn't truly understand or saw the things that I saw. I kept quiet about it, and creativity was my outlet for keeping in contact with the spirit world and doing artwork and writing and seeing some of my guides in clay sculptures that I've done or paintings that I've done. They would appear to me that way. I continued to get sacred wisdom I spent a long time painting and through my artwork, and I do a little bit of writing. And then in probably around 2017, somewhere around there, I started posting world energy readings on Instagram. I would go out in my car, drive to the beach, and feel the energy in the world and write about it. And then in 2019, my soul told me to go on to the social media platform Twitter. And I made an account, and I found people were like, I don't know, so beyond mean there, at least the group that somehow got into my feed that I deleted my account. And the guides kept tapping me on the shoulder and saying, you have to go on to Twitter. It's the spiritual battleground. And also told me there are people there you need to heal. I went on again, and I wanted to leave because, again, I found that there were people that were just very unkind. I tried to stay away from the unkind people as much as possible and find groups of people that were kind and I really enjoyed. I wrote on Twitter, then it became X, for over 6 years. And during that time, I found that there are many people who claim to be spiritual leaders and spiritual teachers who are in fact working for the wrong God. And they didn't like me so much. My username was Lightworker4441, and I wrote over 1,000 channelings from the Pleiadians on how that we are ascending. I channeled messages from Mother Mary, healing messages from the Andromedans that customize healing codes of energy using crystals and sound and light frequencies. I channeled energies from Sophia, high frequency energy of wisdom with a lot of golden harmonics information. And there were many more. Also, Jesus or Yeshua came through me. And my goal the whole time I was there was to follow what my guides had told me, and that is I was there to heal people. They showed me specific people who had imbalances in their energy centers, so to write stuff and put it out there for them. And it's always a choice if someone wants to heal or not to heal. And a lot of people said they wanted to heal, but they were using my energy not to heal, but for their own benefit. And I found that out too. And it was a very difficult time that I was on there, because people who wore masks pretended they were one way, when in actuality they were another way. So long story short, I decided to delete my account in November of 2025 and then focus on my own work. And another person that I channeled that I neglected to talk about was Mary Magdalene. She came to me in 2021, and it was interesting that she would come through me during that year, because that was the time I was really working diligently to align my energy to the Christ energy and to Christ love and Christ light. And Mary Magdalene is the female Christ, as we now know. I decided after I left X and left the platform there, and I deleted my account because I didn't want anyone going back and using my writing and pretending it's theirs, as happens often on social media, and believe it happened to me while I was on there too. So after I left there, I continued to get transmissions from Mary Magdalene, and I put them in a book. And the book is called The Book of Love. And the Book of Love are transmissions from Mary Magdalene on the truth of your soul and the power of love. And almost every single transmission, except for maybe there's one that I saw recently that was a brief sentence, has the word love in it. And love truly is the answer to end all suffering on the earth and to create such a beautiful life for ourselves. After my experience on X and writing all those thousands of messages and following my intuition and guidance that said people needed healing, you need to get your messages out there and your writings out there, I asked the guides, I'm like, why did so many people treat me so badly? Why did so many people purposely, those who said they're spiritual leaders, those who wore the mask of being these spiritual teachers, why did they work so diligently together in groups to try to dim my light? And I know that not everyone is who they say they are, and not everyone is who they seem. And I could see some of them had lower energies in their energy field, and I know that I was being attacked by these energies through the person, like they were working through the person. But what I didn't know is how aligned the people were intentionally to these lower energies for reasons of their own empowerment. So it made me aware of this whole strange world that I had read a little bit about, but I believe my soul wanted me to heal aspects of myself that still needed healing, and to learn how people in low vibration operate, so I would have more tools in my tool belt, and then I could work to help more people. So it was a very difficult experience for me, and I took every negative thing that people used against me and I transmuted it into love, and I transmuted it into self-empowerment, and I learned to love myself first and then give to others. And this is something as an empath I didn't know before. And it's wisdom that I gained that I can use to help others. And it also gave me the plan book of how dark energies work in order to control the earth and create suffering. So I'm going to pause the video here and continue my discussion about why there is suffering in the world and why or how it is that love is the frequency that ends suffering and wipes away all tears and allows humanity to return to the garden paradise earth that the Creator intended for us. Okay, thank you so much for listening and for being patient on my first video that I'm posting. Thank you.